Oh, hey, Liana. What? Let's try it again. Hi, Liana. I'll learn how to speak one of these days. I stuck this on. This is self-adhesive paper, but it's not wood. As you can see, I'm still on the hut because I kind of wanted to finish making something of it. So I've embellished this a little bit from yesterday because I wasn't too happy. Even though it served its purpose, I wasn't too happy with its with the state of it in terms of modelling. So what I've done is covered the outside of this building with my ready mix grout to give it a rough textured appearance. I've done a little bit of more work with the window, and I've replaced the door with a better door, put better hinges and a little iron pull ring on it. I've carved stones. I've replaced the original felted roof with corrugated. It looks Arctic, doesn't it? It does. What a lovely song to welcome in. I've put a new corrugated roof on, that's what I was trying to say. Good evening, Yaya. How are you doing? Have you had a nice Saturday? Hello, Sarah. What I should be doing is carrying on with one of the two customer builds that I've got to work on. But I just really felt like working on this hut that I started last night. So like I've just been saying, I've just done a few little more embellishments to make it look a little bit better, because it wasn't to my usual standards of model making when I'd got it to the finish point of yesterday. So even though, like I say, it did its purposes for as far as teaching people how to make a model, I thought I'd just work it up a bit more and produce a final artifact. Timothy checking for snakes, yes. Is that the first time you'd heard that song, or have you heard it before? Or is it just the first time you saw the video, like you say? Been a bit of a weird day today with it raining. So I'm going to paint this a light wood colour. Like what I've done in the down period is I've created a little base for it and created a set of steps that go up to the doorway. So this is just a piece of insulation foam that I've used. And now I'm going to do something. What we're going to do, we wanted granite walls for this one, didn't we? Make it look a bit cold and Arctic looking. Not Arctic looking, northern. Good evening, Laurie. How are you doing? I'm doing exactly the same as I did yesterday, and I'm doing it in the wrong order. I really need to paint the walls first. I was considering doing the whole rescribing over the grout technique to create stonework, but I figure I quite like the idea of a rendered finish. So we're going back with that idea. I'm going to paint the corners like a can't think of the right word. I'm paint the corners a granite light colour, but the main body of the building is going to be like an off grey kind of colour. It's called Corax White, but it's really quite grey. But painted onto the filler as opposed to the cardboard should just give a nicer effect. So I've still left those cardboard cornerstones in, but now they've just had a slight skimming of ready mix grout, which gives them a more stony appearance. So essentially the model is still very much a core of cereal box card. Evening, Lisa. I haven't heard from Wendy today. Well, I have kind of heard from Wendy today, but I didn't discuss how she was. Maybe I should have done. So tonight, it's not work tonight. I'm just doing something for fun. It's kind of less pressure when I'm making something that it's just me enjoying myself rather than, like I say, rather than working on a client project. You've talked to her today. Oh, that's good. I think as long as she knows that people are thinking about her. This brush is too small, but I don't want to use a huge brush, otherwise I'll be getting the paint where I don't want it. I've purposefully left all the grout that I've smoothed on quite rough. I could have sanded it all down to get a smoother finish, but I preferred the really rough look to it. No, exactly. That's why I've not said anything other than I know she's in hospital. She will, because I think she said before she doesn't feel like she has very many friends, but yeah, it's nice to know that she's got people thinking after her. She's stuck with you now. Excellent. I've got some nice people. I've always said that. Ah, there she is, Wendy. We were just talking about you. Hey, Goober. This is 1/50th scale. It's not my usual scale, but I decided to build a, well, I did a little build along on Friday night. So I did two different scales, 1/76 and 1/50 for people who wanted to have a go. And this is my version of the 1/50 hut. And I'm just going to work it up and make it a little bit more worked up, a bit more model-like. You can just see in the background here, that's the 1/76 equivalent that I've made with a rusty roof. At some point I'll probably do the same with that one and you know, make it a bit more substantial. I should get a bigger brush. Have you ordered one of Moray's laser cut slate signs? I've been mostly trying to do washing in and amongst the rain showers. Went out for breakfast this morning, which was nice. And then just been sort of pottering around the house, really. Eating Chinese and farm sim. That's what Saturdays should be like, isn't it? Oh, you didn't manage to see your grandson. Oh dear. Happy birthday to grandson. Oh, I've just been watching one of the Transformers movies tonight. It's funny because I thought I'd seen 1 through 5. I've definitely seen 1 and 2. And I've definitely seen 5 before, but I haven't seen 3 and 4, it turns out. So I've just been catching up with those last few nights. Going to just paint this roof an undercoat of mid-grey, and then we're going to rust it up. The roasting up is quite fun. Light sets? What do you mean by light sets? Do you mean the LEDs? Hi Andy, I am making a stone hut built out of, well, mostly stone, obviously. The real thing, there isn't a real thing. I'm just making this up. But it's just a piece for fun. But it's supposed to be a sort of rural stone hut with a corrugated steel iron roof. So it's made from a shell of cardboard, cereal board. This is what I did the other night with my build along people, and I'm just finishing it off now, making something a little bit more worked up, substantial. So whereas I normally make things, well, I normally make models of people's actual houses, tonight I'm just making something for fun. Well, it's continuing something I did the other night. Hi Dave, how are you doing? Is that Scottish Riflery coming out there? You're up in Beverley in the rain, are you? Yeah, it's not a very pleasant afternoon, is it? Evening. Thank you, Wendy. It's been on and off. Managed to do a bit of washing and got it hung out. But as soon as it hung out, that it started raining. To bring it all back in again. So it's been more pottering. Hi Rai. I saw you on Becky's live earlier. Good to see you. It's a shame we always clash. Thank you. This is not the normal sort of thing that I do, but I'm just doing a piece for fun, for my own benefit tonight. Client work can take a sidestep for the time being. It's really good, isn't it? I can't believe the amount of time she puts into making that, and it's just so cool. Thank you very much. And we're both working completely different scales. Oh, was he? I did see he was live actually, but I didn't manage to. I didn't manage to pop in. To be honest, I did the path on the. I did the path off camera. Kind of wish I'd done it live now, but I was watching a film earlier. Well, I was kind of watching Becky, kind of watching a film, and working at the same time. So the path I've just carved it out with the foam and then used chips of Foamex for the paving slabs on the steps. I know, I just saw the preview then. I saw the two of you chatting. And she's still at it. Just talking about the scandal that is TikTok subscriptions. Where's Google Translate? Yeah, it's good that we're all speaking sort of more perfected English here. That if you typed how you accented, you wouldn't be able to understand yeah. Mind you, Lothian is quite a distinct accent, isn't it? Were you being filtered? What have you just said? I always thought that was just a random thing that came on, not that you were actually being naughty. I might as well paint those stone slabs in while I've got the paint colour out. And we'll go with a darker grey for the stone. Yeah, it's lucky that it doesn't rain inside the pub, isn't it? You've got chronic heartburn. Oh, that's nasty. I have a real problem with that as well. I've run out of my medication. On the other one, not really happy with the colour on the other one, but what I used was a medium stone and then washed over it with a dark grey. I might have to start again on that. Yeah, I take lansoprazole, but I've run out, so now I have to just sort of grin and bear it at the moment. This is just a regiment grey colour I'm painting on now. It's probably a bit dark, but it'll be fine. This, I've just carved the landscape roughly straight from the foam, just using a knife and just sort of pressing into the sides really. I'm going to paint those a medium stone because those have been that's been hacked out of the landscape. I'm going to have to speak to my doctor to get them to re-prescribe. I thought it was on a repeat prescription, but it doesn't appear to be. Sorry, forgot Liana was watching. You're always watching. In fact, I've just had an on-the-spot rethink here. If those steps are going to be a dark granite colour, then surely the rock face that I've cut out of will be the same. So I'm going to paint that dark as well. See, you're all youngsters, that's the thing. You stop going on about being old when you're actually really young. Some of this foam's actually lifting up, that's not a bad thing. I could really do with airbrushing, but what the heck, let's just paintbrush. That is true, but I'm going to do a lot of weathering, so I'm going to change the look of the whole thing. So I just want the stone to look as if it's hewn from the same kind of structure stone, but like I say, it's not going to show up, but I will weather them differently, so the steps will show up better. I'm just going to paint it all an initial similar colour. Just see if I can show you that rock face there. So this, all I've done here is just carve out of the foam and just sort of stab into it and use different sort of pressing, pulling, ripping, and it just gives you a really nice looking rock surface with very little effort. And what I've done here is to create striations in the rock is I've just pressed into the sides with a blunt piece of metal. And I really need to go all the way around here, but it's going to be very time consuming. I'll probably have to water the paint down a bit and use a much bigger brush. And that's going to receive a lot of washes and dry brushes to get the texture how I want it. Like I say, I probably need a palette and a bit bigger brush, not bigger brush, a bit bigger a watered down mix, otherwise my paint's going to run out really quickly. I'm just seeing if I've got any, yeah I do, I have some similar coloured artist's acrylic. This one is completely fictional. I've just decided to do something for a bit of fun. Basically, initially it was the build along project that I was doing last 2 weekends, 2 Friday nights. It's just basically to I don't need to water this down now, to illustrate how to build a hut, really, for people who wanted to have a go. So I wasn't happy with my finished piece. It wasn't down to my normal sort of standards. So I've decided to continue working it up and make something a bit nicer out of it. So I'm just having a bit of fun with making something fictional and a little bit interesting. So I should have probably done this earlier, but this is a cheap artist acrylic from the range, and I can just thickly paint this on now without caring really about the wasting paint. Why did I change the roof? Because really I wanted a corrugated roof, but I was trying to be more accommodating to the materials that people might have had to hand. So lots of people have sandpaper to hand, but not really corrugated card. So my original plan for this was to have a rustic looking corrugated roof, but seeing as it had finished its purpose for demonstrating, I decided to rip it off and replace it with a corrugated one. So this is some corrugated card I got from a model shop. It's too big for 1/76 scale, but it's just perfect for 150. I think it'd have been better the other way around. The smaller one would maybe have looked better with a felted roof, more like a shed. But you're not really going to have a felted roof on an isolated stone cottage, stone hut. It's going to be something a bit more substantial, so that's why I've done that. Thank you, Anton. Oh, you mean this one here? Yeah, I was quite happy with that. Looks very rusty, doesn't it? I'm going to do similar treatment to that. This one's a lot easier to paint now because it's card rather than actual metal. The aluminium roof is quite difficult to paint because the paint doesn't sit on it so well. So really, it wants priming. That's the word I was trying to come up with. Oh, don't worry. I have recorded it. I will download the whole thing and put it up onto YouTube. Ah, well spotted, Dave. You're the first one that's noticed. Yes, I have. Thank you for the follow, Bunting Lady. I was going to wait until it got a bit darker to try the light out, but some mysterious person sent me a package today with some electrical snap connectors and half a box of Tunnocks tea cakes. So I've used one of those in there. These things are brilliant for connecting wires. You just literally push it in and snap it in. You'll see here, I haven't actually done anything with this side of the rock. I've just left it as the blade has cut it. So it's a bit scruffy. They are great, aren't they? I tell you, it's the best thing in the world getting a packet of Tunnocks through the post, even if the mystery sender has eaten 4 of them before they sent it. Good evening, Michael. How are you? Yes, we missed you too, Yaya, last night. I found it rather amusing. He just put a little note on the outside or the inside of the package saying, "Saw these and thought of you, but got a little bit peckish while I was wrapping them up. Oops, sorry." So I got 6 instead of 10. Right, there we go. That's the outside painted. I'm going to paint the top a brown colour now for the soil. This is actually a bit flatter than it should be, isn't it? Was he? I hate the mouthy teenage phase. My lad's 2 years older than that, and he has gone through that mouthing off stage. It's not pleasant to go through. He still has his moments today. He tried to blame us for nearly being late for work by the fact that we didn't wake him up. Yeah, I'm quite well, thank you, Michael. Sleepy as always, but it's par for the course around here. Yes, we decided to go out for breakfast this morning and left everybody in bed, but then suddenly we're at 11 o'clock when his shift is about to start at 12. We suddenly remembered that he was supposed to be going to work, so we tried phoning him to make sure he was up and getting ready to go to work, and no answer. So we decided we had to go back home to make sure he was up. And of course, 11:45, bearing in mind he's due at work at 12, he's still fast asleep in bed. So, had to get him up. And of course, he's blaming us for not waking him or telling us where we were going. Yeah, it's fun. Right, this looks very messy, but I'm basically just putting a bit of base for the ground cover down. It's just so that when I do sprinkle my ground cover down, if I've got any gaps, it'll just show as a mucky earth colour. Totally was my fault, yes. Despite the fact that he'd set himself several alarms and ignored all of them, and he'd ignored the phone ringing repeatedly. But yeah, completely our fault. Alright, it's after this, because this paint is still very, very wet, I'm going to get the hairdryer out. Thank you, Dungeon Rogue. Thank you for following, and welcome along to my live broadcast. Just doing a little bit of 1/50th scale fun modelling tonight. He was a really chilled out baby when he was little, and then turned into a rascal. He's a very polite teenager though now, most of the time. Especially when around strangers. He presents himself really, really well. Right, hairdryer time. I just need to get this dry so I can carry on. I'm running out of wine as well. So cheers everyone. Just for a bit of fun really, Anton. Maybe I'll put it up for sale or for raffle when I'm done, I don't know. Right, I'm going to mute you all while I do the hair drying, just a minute. Okay, it's still not completely dry enough to... it's still not completely dry, but it's dry enough to continue working with now, so... Oops, let's just add a little bit of shading to the door. So this is some Agrax Earthshade, and oops, I've got some foam stuck to that. So by brushing this over the door now, it's just going to darken it off and put some nice little details back in, so you can see the panels that I've done. So it settles nicely into the recesses. Just gives you some extra depth. I don't know if you can see that there. And also the little ragged detail that I've put at the bottom on the door. I'll just dry that off now. I was just trying to think of what I was going to do. I'm going to dry that off. Yeah, I could have sworn I saw Pip come in as well, but she must have had to go elsewhere. Either that or she's just staying quiet. Yes, I have, Dave. Basically what I've done on top of this is I've gone over it with my Fix and Grout, just there. So I've, yeah, I mean, what I showed you yesterday or the day before is perfectly valid, but I just wanted to take it an extra step this one now that I've finished. Oh, of course you are, Pip, shush. So I've basically just treated it with a coat of ready mixed grout to give it a more textured finish. Thank you, Crizzle. Getting my fingers are getting a bit wet because it's still not it's not 100% dry. Oops, like I said, I have fitted a little where's the switch gone? The switch goes up. I fitted a little light to the inside of this one, just to give it something different. I've also, don't know if you can see there, I've smashed that top pane just to give it a bit of rustic detail. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of work it up a bit more. So for the roof now, I'm just going to cover it with Nuln Oil. Got to be careful here because you can get splashes working down the wall. But because it's old, I'm not too bothered about that to the extreme. But you've just got to be careful when you do this that you don't flick it everywhere. So I'm putting some depth into that iron roofing right now, but then I'll I'll make it rusty later on. Oh no, I haven't put any ghosts in. Oh, thank you, Catherine. You're sending it back for a light. Oh, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Bunting. What did I miss from the Anna? Oh, thank you. This little coping piece isn't sticking on very well. I may have to take that off and re-glue it. It does, yeah, it does add character if it's not quite so flat. The whole idea with this model is that it's kind of a bit run down, abandoned. Not abandoned as such, but more run down. It's not abandoned because it's got a closed door and there's a light on inside, but it's extremely run down. Thank you for joining. Nice to see you. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening. Thank you for the happy tappies, guys. So add some more of that shading to the cornerstones. I've let a bit run down there. Not on purpose, that was an accident. You're a very good tapper, Yaya. I think we got up to 20k yesterday. On the Foamex one, no, I didn't use grout on that. I did. I just used paint to get the mortar effect. Because this one was made of cardboard, it's not easy to carve at all. I've gone for the rendered look on this one. Can you hear the rain? It's really raining now. I'll just deepen the shading on this now with the same. a little bit on the wasteful side this, but now I'm just going to add some depth to those rock faces. At least on the bits that the steps have been cut out of. Oops. I'll just have to be a bit of staining on the wall. So I used Foamex for all these step pieces here, but I just left that as the raw foam. Hairdryer time, just a minute. I'm going to do some hairdrying. It's rather warm work, is airbrushing. No, hair drying. Hair drying, that's what I'm trying to do. It's rather warm work hair drying at the moment. Right, I am going to do some no, I'm going to do some dry brushing right now. So I'll coat the brush quite liberally with paint and then wipe most of it off. It has a cool setting, yes, but that was the cool setting. Still quite warm. Okay, this bit's quite satisfying. If I dry brush over the box there, can you see how it's just changing texture? I'm going to do that at the sides of the house as well, just to add some texture now into that stone. So everywhere I've got the more granity type stone, I'm just going to dry brush this effect in. This colour is called Tyrant Skull, Steve, sorry. Are you making lists of all these colours for future use? So this cardboard lintel here has just got a little bit of grout covering over it a bit to give it a bit more texture, and then dry brushing it just gives it a really nice stone-like finish. So that's the benefit of adding the grout texture. It just gives it a nicer finish. Are you watching, Lisa? Are you still here? So this is you're still learning. So this is the kind of thing that you can add if you want to. If you just if you cover your walls that you've done with cardboard with filler, cheap filler or grout mix, you can get a nice rough finish. So now sort of heavily brushing into the foam stone. I'm going to go heavier on the pathway so it looks lighter than the surrounding stone. Bit of ASMR dry brushing for you. So what I'm going to do is dry brush all the rock first, and then I'm going to do the grass, because I want to get the grass down next so it doesn't go everywhere. So I'll get the grass done and then I will continue working on the roof. Try and brush a little bit on the door to make it look a bit more aged. The ironwork I'm going to paint black. Or you mean the specialist ASMR people? Me neither. I'm just making things up. I didn't even know what ASMR was until a few months ago. It's insulation foam, Lisa. So you get this from like your DIY store. It's 50mm thick. It's the sort of stuff that you put in walls for insulation. It's not polystyrene, no. It has a much denser. It's a much denser foam, and so you can carve into it. You still get a lot of debris, but you can carve into it with fairly realistic results. So I said that there's no filler, there's no anything. It's just pure foam that I've just pressed into position and carved. So with a little careful painting, it looks very realistic. You do have to sometimes go back over it because it does chip out. But on top of the foam, I've glued some Foamex pieces. So all these stones here are Foamex that I've just glued on top. So I've dry brushed this area a lot lighter so it stands out from the side rocks. You could use filler, you could use toilet paper or kitchen roll soaked in PVA and then scrunched up. So if you say you got a piece of kitchen roll like this, put it down onto your surface and paint it with raw PVA, and then you can just scrunch it up, pull it into place, add more layers. Just keep painting it with PVA and it'll dry out really rock solid. You can also use scenic foam to create like undulations. Being really heavy-handed here and chipping out some areas, but that'll be fine. You could go really quite to town and cut out some like ledges and have more rocky features. I'm just going to leave that like this, and I'm going to look at putting some grass down now. I'm going to need some thing to catch the grass with. So temporarily I'm going to stick a piece of A4 underneath there. Just knocked my flux paste all over the floor. Well, not all over the floor, I just knocked the tub off the table, which is not the end of the world. What is the end of the world is if I realise that I don't have any PVA left. No, I do, bear with me. I'm back. Right, so I've not got much left of this, but we'll see how we go. So I'm going to start with a layer of PVA. I'm not going to go right to the edges everywhere. Some places I am, and I'll come over the rock a bit. I just realised there's a really nice little bit of accidental foam texture going on there, so I'm going to leave that and just grass around it. In fact, all the little imperfections all around the edge, I'll just leave neat foam. You can just have a little bit of variation. It is quite heavy on the PVA this, but you need to paint down a good covering for the grass to stick to. Your cat's been sleeping in your landscape. That's a sign of a good landscape though, when you get the cat sleeping on it. Okay, glue down. So I'm going to start with some 2mm grass here, and I'm going to build up the levels, see what grass I've got available. This is the part where I end up with my table absolutely covered in pots. Oops. So I'll turn on the applicator, and then we can just literally shake the grass down. That pin there is just a little bit of metal for the static grass to be attracted to when it shakes. I'll just shift that out of the way a minute. Tip it upside down, and then we've got grass sort of settling everywhere. We've even got some accidental grass stuck in there, which looks really good. It's settling a bit where there's... This is why I didn't want to paint the roof yet, because we don't want the grass settling where it shouldn't do. So now I just need to find a pot to put all that spare grass in. And I'm going to get some longer grass. I don't even know what colour that is. Is it North Europe? I'm mixing it with this one. And that's why you use a piece of paper underneath, is just to catch all the excess grass. You want to be able to try and reuse it. So now I want some 3 or 4mm to give me some extra depth. Yeah, that'll do. And I'll probably want some foam. Yeah, that'll do. Is that the right stuff? Bear with me while I talk to myself. It does, doesn't it? There are a couple of grasses mixed in there, to be honest, and I can't really... I think there's a bit of spring and a bit of North Europe mixed together. We see what that bit that I left there. Looks really quite cool, that bit. Not coming up very well, is it? Right, what am I going to do now? I'm going to add some extra depth now, but I need some glue. Timmy, will you lie down? You going out? Tim, you going out? No, it's been a pain. He's going to pull that camera. You going out? Go on, go on out. Go on, get me out. Go on. Persuaded him to go out. He doesn't want to go out, but he hasn't been out. Right, sorry. I'm just going to have to mask this a minute. Or at least try to. So its arms everywhere. Generous helping of hairspray. So this is some ground foam that I've made myself out of some furniture foam. It's an old cushion, an old foam cushion that I've just ground down with a coffee grinder and coloured with acrylic paint. So I'm just going to use that now to build up a little bit of unevenness around the back. Not too much, because I'm just making it up as I go along. I want to seal that down now, which involves finding a specific little plunger. Not everybody has these items, so... Ouch. That wasn't actually an ouch, that was just me banging the tub. So to stick that foam down now, I'm going to use a combination of isopropyl alcohol and watered down PVA. So you can get hold of this from Amazon, from electrical suppliers shops. It's isopropyl alcohol, just neat alcohol, sort of stuff that you'd use to clean electrical connections, things. I'm not sure really. I've just got a big tub of it. But this will reduce the surface tension in all that foam that will enable me to now cover it with neat PVA, not neat PVA, watered down PVA without it pooling. So I have a big tub of that. I'm just going to let the dog back in again. Come on back in then, Tim. And some neat, I keep saying neat when I mean watered down. Some watered down PVA in a little dropper bottle. And I can just squeeze that all over the foam here, and it'll soak in. If I hadn't have done that, it would have just pooled over the top and run off. So the isopropyl alcohol just reduces the surface tension, like I've said many times before, and lets you squeeze your glue down to make it all set in place. This is just a little dropper bottle, again something I've got from Amazon, watered down PVA. Makes it easier to apply. And now on top of that foam, just to give it a bit of extra texture, I'm going to put some longer grass. And this little bag has got some, I think it's 6mm, so we're going to get some really deep texture now. And put some of that into my hopper. And I've just realised I've got the wrong mesh for this. It should be the bigger one. Where's the bigger one gone? Oh, it's on the table. Okay, that's a slightly bigger mesh there. Hi Tic Tac Toe, how are you doing? This is not going to stick upright quite so as well as the lower stuff, but can you just see how that's kind of looking? Stood up, there's a little bit on the wall there, but that ground foam texture is just giving it some extra depth and enables me to stick some more grass on. Now it is quite tall, that grass. So we're just adding a bit of depth, just trying to get there. You can see there. I don't want to cover the whole thing with really long grass because that's a little bit unrealistic. But it's just nice to add a little bit more extra texture. So I'm going to look for something a little bit smaller now. And we'll just continue working up the foliage for a bit. This next one is Spring Green 4mm. See if I can get some of that in. I'm just off camera putting some of this into my hopper. It's just you're a bit close up here so you can't see all that I'm doing. What else am I planning on doing? I'm just going to add a little bit of ground foliage. I've got an old drain pipe, an old broken piece of guttering to add to this side. I'm going to make the roof rusty. I don't know what else, to be honest. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. But it's working so far. So that's just some cheap hairspray that I use for scenic glue. Just works the same as the more expensive scenic glue that you can buy that's dedicated for the purpose, but once I've got the majority of this brushed back off, I can then work on painting the roof up a bit more. But if you do static grass, it's always better to work from a smaller scale and then up to a longer one, so you can layer it in. It's looking a bit windswept at the moment. A little bit stuck to the outside, I don't mind that at all. Now that's a bit too mixed up is the excess there, so I'll just throw that away. Yes, it does have a light. Give me a second, Rena. If I just tilt my main light off, I'll turn that one off. Still a bit bright, that, isn't it? And then we've got a light on the side. We also got a hole in the roof that the light's kind of shining through, so I'm going to have to do something with that there. That's basically where the bulb is, so it's just shining through. It's shining through the top. So yeah, little glowing light there. It's not easy. It's not great to get a good view when it's not so light. It might. Maybe you could just have a weakness in the ceiling. Sometimes when the materials that you use, the bulb's quite bright, and you don't get the light fastness unless you paint it black. But yeah, maybe there can just be a thinness in the roof that it's shining through. So yeah, I've just got a little LED bulb in there. I don't know if you can just see that at that angle. And then it's just connected to a battery pack that can be easily replaced. Let me just put the overall light on as well, because I work better with a slightly ambient light. So there's a lot of grass settled in that area there. It does attach itself to anywhere that's slightly damp, which is why I like to try and hairdryer everything. Speed the process up. Just have to try and brush off the grass in the bits that you don't want it stuck to. That's why I've left the roof until last, because otherwise I'd end up with grass stuck to the roof. Rusted area, yes, I'm going to rust the roof. Just put a little bit of PVA down the back there. I'm going to sprinkle some ground foam. It's a little bit stuck to the wall, that's not too bad. A little bit of weed cover around the edges. Do the same on that side and hide that seam, make it look like it all joins in. So this is some foam scatter. I've not got an awful lot left of this, but we're just going to use it up here. So this is one of my favourite bits of making a model, is just adding lots of scatter to give it some extra depth. Right. I'm so glad you can't see the rest of my desk right now, because it's a bomb site. I'm having trouble finding stuff. Thank you, Jam. It's the same as last night. I'm just going to add some rust. There's no sort of scientific way of doing this. I'm just doing it till it looks right. Most of the rust is going to be at the bottom, where obviously you're going to get a lot of water runoff with the occasional. This does look really dark at the moment, but I'm going to mute it down. I think the ironwork really needs to be rusty. I've been model making for about 15 years now. I started off on model railways. I was making little models to embellish my kids' train sets, and then I just sort of went a little bit over the top. I just wanted to sort of make better models, so I sort of tried to better myself and studied other model makers, see what they were doing, and I'm on an endless quest to just get better. Really, you're welcome. I always welcome questions. So yeah, I just then started showing off my work on forums, and people then started asking me if I could make models for them, and it kind of snowballed from there. So 3 years ago, in lockdown, I showed off a model that I'd made and said, would anybody be interested in looking in me making models of their houses? and I started up a business making scale models of people's houses from there. So all over the desk are lots of different models of houses I've got on the go. This is not my normal thing. I normally make scale models of people's actual houses, but this is just a little bit of fun for this evening. It's just nice to chill and not to stress over actual commission work. So this is just something I've made just off the top of my head. I'm going to mute for a minute because I'm going to dry off with a hairbrush. That's a good question. Just bear with me a minute. Sorry, for anybody that's just joined in, I use the hairdryer a lot to speed the drying process up. Otherwise, we're waiting for ages for coats to dry. Although acrylic paint is really good for quick drying, I'd still be waiting for a while if I wasn't using the hairdryer. I'm just trying now just to get a little bit of space here so I can pull one of the models out from behind. This is a little stone hut that I was making last night. So exactly the same design as that one, but a little smaller scale. So that one's 1/76 scale to the 150 scale there. This is a little outhouse I'm making in 132 scale. It's going to have a little toilet in there. I will build a cistern that will eventually sit there, and that's the roof. That's 132 scale. Still can't get to it. That's a bungalow I'm making at the moment. It's in its early stages. Still waiting for the window for that bit. This has been laser cut. So we've got windows and curtains going on in there. I've got a bay window and a bow window to make in that point. I've got a little, here's a commission for somebody. It's a little bus shelter building. That's to go on a model railway. I've got some little shelters that go along with that. What I'm trying to get to is this house in the background here. This is one of the ones that I'm currently building. I should really have been getting on with it tonight, but I decided to do something a bit fun instead. So this is the stone cottage I'm building at the moment. I've got the garden to try and work up there now. So that's the back. It's got multiple extensions going on, all different kind of drain pipe detail, etc. So I've still got the back garden to go. Yes, I can't wait to see more of the bungalow. I should have been working on the bungalow tonight, but I decided to just I decided to go ahead with the little stone hut building. I thought why not? Let's just have a little bit of chill out tonight. Thank you, Rena. So I've got some dark rust down, and now I'm just going to highlight it with a little bit of light. Excuse me, I hiccuped then. And then I'm going to give the whole thing a light wash with Skeleton Horde if I can find it, which will just mute everything down just a little bit because it's a really cool colour. It's a bit bright, especially when you go with the really bright orange. Okay, I'll just wait for that to dry a bit. I'm going to stick a broken bit of guttering on now. This is just a piece of plastic strip. It's a U channel. Thank you, Patrice, for following. I cut a little bit of sticky backed paper. It's some printer paper I bought to try and some sort of label paper that I bought to try and see if I could make windows from, but it just gets ripped to shreds on the Cricut. So I've abandoned that idea. Don't think it's going to work. But what I can use it for is cutting tiny bits of tiny strips off to make little dividers for things like drain pipes. And gutters. So what I can do is just stick it to there. I don't know if you can see here. It just gives it a little bit of a bracket. Not a bracket. Or is it a bracket? It might be a bracket. It's just a nice little bit of extra detail that wouldn't normally be there. Quite tough to cut through this. So there probably would be one on both sides. And add some similar brackets. I have also used just little strips of masking tape in the past to do these little bracket details. Stick to my finger there. Oh, that's fallen off completely. Now then, I want this one to look like it's fallen off. So I'm going to glue this at an angle across the window. Tweezers. Sticking to my fingers instead. Happens a lot. Nope, still sticking to my fingers instead. Yes, it does take quite an amount of patience, especially when it starts sticking to you instead of what it wants to. So that's what I'm trying to do on purpose. It's falling off. But the one at the back isn't. It would be more sensible to hold onto it with tweezers while I put the glue on. Too much. It's times like this when you really do appreciate why super glue was invented as a surgical skin sealing thingy resource, because it does really spectacularly stick to your fingers instead of where it needs to be quite a lot of the time. Yes, good eyesight's a prerequisite as well, but I don't have good, my eyesight's deteriorating. Did I use white for the mortar? No, not this time. Right, I'm going to use something I don't normally use for modelling, and that's not for modelling gutters, but I'm going to use a cocktail stick. Does look too new, but don't worry, Daryl. It will. It won't when I finish with it. I've just glued it on for the moment. As soon as it's stuck solid, I'm going to rust it up. I think we're going to go full on rust for the guttering. For the whole part, no, I don't. They're usually made for just people who want models of their houses making. This one's an anomaly because it's I'm just making it for fun tonight. Although I may well raffle it off or run it as a giveaway. I don't know. But yeah, I have model railroad clients. But for the most part, it's just non-model railway people that I make models for. It's whoever wants buildings making, really. What colour would I use? I'd use, sorry, I didn't realise you were asking me the question of what colour. I usually use this colour for mortar. It's Citadel Terminata Stone, so it's like an off. It's almost a stone colour, but it's a lot paler. But white's way too harsh for a model. A model colour. Oh, sorry, you can't see what I'm doing, can you? I've twisted down. I'm just trying to make some brackets for the drain pipe now. So I've just wrapped a piece of that sticker paper around the cocktail stick. I would normally use plastic rod for this because it's a much better modelling material, but I have run out of this particular size, so I'm improvising with a cocktail stick, and I'm just making little brackets for the back out of strips of slightly thicker card. Now I've cut that out and lost it, it's fallen off. That one. Now I need to make a slightly more broken one because it's going to be broken. I'm going to have to get a better cutting mat so it's more apparent what I'm doing. Because this is just a mass of paint marks, etc. So just to get that depth of the joints, just wrap some strips of paper around the downspouts. Yes, these are the downspouts. So I'm making this out of cocktail sticks and sticker paper. You won't be able to tell once it's painted. When you work with slightly bigger scales, you can get more detail. So a lot of the time in 176, I don't tend to put the joints on as much. But with 50 scale, it's a bit more apparent. And then some card just glued onto the back of the little strip there will act as the bracket holder if I can get it to sit still. And dip that in the super glue and then persuade it to not very successfully persuade it because I think the glue's dried up. A bit better glue. This is the point where it's going to stick to the blade instead. No, we've done it. There we go. So that's what I'm trying to do. So now I've got two of those. I would be better painting them before I stuck them down, to be honest, wouldn't I? So I said I was going to rust them up, but I'm going to paint them a coat of charcoal grey first, and then I'm going to rust it up. But I'll do these before I stick them down. It's a much more sensible idea. Just stick it down a minute. I've lost the other one. Where did it go? There it is. And then I can just air dry them dry. This one, well, I started it last Friday, so I did about 3 hours on it last Friday. I did a build along for my for some of my followers. So the plan for this building is available on my website for free. So everybody that was wanting to have a go downloaded the plan, and we all had a go at making it together. So I spent about 3 hours on it last Friday night. We did part 2 last night for about another 3 hours, and then I've been reworking it again on my own tonight for about another 3 hours. So This one's a relatively quick build. I've probably been working on it for about seven hours or so in total. I'm just going to mute because I do need to hairdryer this a second. Sorry, I have to mute because otherwise it's far too noisy. It often takes people by surprise as well if I don't mute it off. No, that is true. That's why I'm guessing, but I have spent a lot of time on my own with this. Oops. Drop more glue on the top there, please. There we go. So that's that downpipe in. I will paint the gutters in a minute. Thought it popped off then. Now this one's going to be equally applied, but this one is going to reflect the nature of the guttering there. It's going to have fallen off and be leaning away a bit. So although it is still used, this hut, it does require a lot of TLC at some point. Now we see by teaching you, or well, hopefully by you guys watching, that you'll be able to work faster. That's not dry enough. Yeah, I think because I'm used to working. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. It's I can do things quicker because I'm not really thinking that hard about how to do it. Are you on a lunch break, Pip? I'm going to paint all the guttering and downspouts this Corvus black colour. So it's not quite black, it's like a charcoal grey black colour. You're having morning tea? I see. What do you do for a living, Pip? I'm sure I've asked you before, but I can't remember. Are you working in retail? Thank you, RH Ancestor. I'm going to be adding some rusting to these rainwater goods in a minute. Just need to paint it the underlying black colour first. How did I find the talent? I don't know. I think maybe it just found me. I just wanted to have a go, to be honest. And I've always tried to just push myself to be that little bit more realistic. Like I say, I've said to other people, I started off in model railways because I wanted to try and make some top heavy this because I've got a battery in it. I started off making little buildings, simple buildings to go on my kids' train set. And then it turned into my train set, and I started, trying to make things look a little bit more realistic. Oh, wow. That's interesting. So obviously you work on Sundays as well then? For anybody confused in the northern hemisphere, Pip is from the southern hemisphere, so it's Sunday there. Right, I'm just going to use the hairdryer to dry off the downspouts, and then I'll come back and do some rusting. Are you in a semi-rural part of New Zealand then? A little bit of foam coming through there, so I need to paint that up again. just with you saying that you were doing a bit of everything, it kind of made me think of these documentaries that we see from people that work in the more rural areas, having to do a bit of everything. Okay, where's that shade colour I had yesterday? Oh, there it is. Yes, I did. I scratched the card detailing a bit. I put a little bit of filler over the top of it, but for the most part, it's just card. Yeah, I've just scratched into the divides to get that mortar depth detail in. I'm going to wash over now with a wash colour called Skeleton Horde, and it's just going to mute everything down a little bit, so it's not so quite bright orange. It gives it a bit of a greeny tinge as well. The rust will still show through. I'm just muting it down so it's not quite so bright. So this is a colour called Skeleton Horde. It's a contrast paint, so it kind of a base layer, but also a bit of a wash as well. So it's a nice little. It's a shade colour I like using on wood to create a bit more of depth on wood colours, but it works really well on sort of muting down roofs. I'm just going to dry this again. I'm laughing here because I completely forgot to unmute, sorry. I'm going back over this now with some Nuln Oil, which is going to add extra depth to those corrugations, mute that orange down even further, so that the rust that you're seeing is quite old looking and not quite so bright and in your face. Sorry about that. I'm going to have to mute it again though now because I'm just going to dry that back off again. Remember to unmute this time. I'm just going to put a little bit of mossy green colour down the side there, which we may have had a bit of a runoff from the from the broken downspout. We're going to get a bit of water staining happening. And we're nearly there now. As a finishing touch, I'm just going to add some moss to the roof. Bit of neat PVA. And what I'll do to the brush is just stipple it on some paper so it's not fully loaded with glue, and then just use it as a bit of a stippler on the roof. The roof is corrugated card. Hi Ishmael. The roof is just simple corrugated card, which I have painted over and over and over. So it started off life looking like this. It's just you got it from a model shop. Just a basic, so it's just a simple piece of corrugated cardboard. Now what I'm going to do is just sprinkle a bit of very fine ground foam on. So the same stuff that I was using earlier, but I'll just try and use some of the finer particles. Some of this glue might not have settled. Oh, I've just realised I've completely forgotten to paint the window frame. I've redone it since yesterday, so the original one that I said I was going to leave be, I've not. Yes, most of that glue that I've put down has kind of dried instantly. So this is not going to stick unless I give it a misting with hairspray. But I'm in danger of blowing it all off. So we'll just see what we can do. Just mask off that window.